At 78, James Woods married a woman young enough to be his granddaughter. But that's not even the most shocking part of his story. After the Palisades Fire destroyed his home in 2025, he lost millions and revealed secrets about his past relationships. His 46-year age gap with a previous girlfriend caused outrage. But new details about his personal life are even more disturbing. What happened behind closed doors during his marriages will surprise you. The real reason his relationships kept failing isn't what anyone expected. James Woods came into the world on April 18, 1947, in Vernal, Utah, a quiet town tucked inside the northeastern part of the state. His father, Gale Peyton Woods, worked as a U.S. Army intelligence officer, so the family rarely stayed in one place for long. Every time his father got reassigned, they packed up again. New schools, new houses, new faces. It was hard for a kid to settle in when everything kept shifting. His mother, Martha A. Smith, ran a preschool, and that brought a bit of steadiness into his life. But even that could not erase the restlessness of moving again and again. Their Irish-American Catholic roots shaped him too, filling his childhood with traditions, rules, and a seriousness that stayed with him as he grew. The home was strict, with military discipline on one side and Catholic teachings on the other. And those early layers pushed him toward curiosity, sharp thinking, and a spark of rebellion that kept growing inside him. Then came the moment that changed everything. In 1960, his father went in for a routine surgery and never made it home. Woods was only 13. The shock tore through the family. He and his younger brother Michael lost the man they looked up to the most. After the funeral, his mother remarried a man named Thomas E. Dixon, and they moved to Warwick, Rhode Island, hoping life would restart. But the emotional hole was too deep, and the financial pressure only got heavier. Martha kept her preschool running just so they could stay afloat. Woods would later talk about how empty the house felt after his father died, how everything seemed harder, and how the absence became this quiet force that shaped the way he saw the world. Life in Warwick was modest and sometimes strained. Money was tight. Expectations were heavy. His Catholic upbringing kept him close to the church, and he even served as an altar boy. But that did not shield him from grief or the challenges waiting at home. His mother's remarriage brought some support, yet the family still had rough days. Woods claimed an IQ of 180, and that made him stand out academically, but it also pushed him away from the other kids. He was strong in the classroom, but lonely in the hallways. The pressure to excel kept rising, especially since he felt he had to fill the void his father left behind. Still, something inside him kept moving. He remembered his father reading Shakespeare to him when he was young. The words settled into his mind and helped him imagine bigger worlds, and that early exposure helped him score high on every test he took. As he grew older, he pushed himself even harder. He graduated from Pilgrim High School in 1965, near the top of his class. His mind was sharp and restless. Teachers noticed his brilliance, but also saw the edge in him. He questioned authority. He challenged rules. He spoke quickly and confidently. His tongue was sharper than most people could handle. Those traits kept him from blending in, but they carried him straight toward a future where bold choices ruled his life. His mix of excellence and defiance laid the first stones of a path that would later make him unforgettable on screen. In 1964, he earned a spot at the U.S. Air Force Academy because he wanted to become a fighter pilot. The program was elite. Only the strongest and smartest got in. Then an accident crushed the dream. He shattered a plate glass window and severed tendons in his hand. The injury ended everything he had planned. He was only 17, and suddenly, the one goal he held on to disappeared. Still, he refused to stop. He turned toward academics again and earned a full scholarship to MIT. He aimed for political science and even thought about becoming an eye surgeon. But life had already started tugging him in a different direction. MIT opened new doors. Woods joined Theta Delta Chi and immersed himself in campus life. He performed well in classes and stayed close to the top of his year. But something else began pulling him in. The theater. He joined drama shop and threw himself into campus plays. He acted. He directed. He studied characters the same way he studied physics and politics, breaking them down piece by piece. His mind was built for this. His SAT scores were proof of his intelligence, but the stage gave him something numbers never could. It gave him a way to release the intensity inside him. His fraternity life and theater work slowly replaced his original academic dreams. Step-by-step acting became the thing he thought about the most. Then one conversation turned everything. In 1969, just one semester before graduation, he met Tim Affleck, the stage manager at the theater company of Boston. Affleck saw something in him, natural talent, true presence. He told Woods to leave MIT and pursue acting. Woods was already doubting whether he wanted to spend his life in medicine or politics. The idea hit him hard. He surprised everyone, including himself, when he chose to walk away from his scholarship and the future that seemed safe. His mother was shocked, but still told him to become the best actor possible. That simple line stayed in his mind for years. He moved to New York City in 1969 with his fraternity brother Martin Donovan and stepped straight into the grind of auditions and empty wallets. He worked odd jobs while trying to land roles. His academic background gave him an edge. He understood complex characters. He could analyze a script the way he once analyzed equations. In 1970, he earned his first major off-Broadway role in Borstal Boy, and from that point on, he pushed through every obstacle in his way. His early acting days were a test of survival, but he kept going because the hunger inside him refused to fade. Still, everything started even earlier. Back in 1969, he debuted off-Broadway in The Penny Wars at the Royale Theatre. The show lasted only 4 days, from October 15th to 18. He was 22 and broke, living in a tiny apartment and trying to stretch his money with ramen. He played 2 small roles, Tom Meadows and Dale, and that forced him to sharpen his fast-talking delivery. The play barely made a sound in the theater world, but the right people noticed the speed and clarity in his voice. Those short days planted the first seeds for future roles. Then, in 1970, he got a supporting role in Borstal Boy at the Lyceum Theatre. The show opened on March 31st and closed on August 1st. Woods pretended to be British just to land the part. He brought raw emotion to every scene. Critics noticed him. Money was still low, and he picked up side jobs to stay alive, but his presence grew stronger. His reputation for intensity started building in those months. In 1971, he jumped into The Trial of the Catonsville Nine, also at the Lyceum. He played David Darst, a draft resistor in a play built on the fire of anti-war protests. He delivered every line with a force that shocked audiences. The production was small, the pay was tiny, but this role carved another layer into his path. It brought him into the world of political theater and shaped the way he viewed stories, conflict, and courage. By 1972, he reached his first real milestone. Moonchildren opened at the Royale Theatre on February 21st. It ran for 16 performances before closing on March 4th. He played Bob Reddy, a cynical college student drowning in disillusionment. The cast included future stars like Kevin Conway, Christopher Guest, and Edward Herrmann. Woods faced tensions backstage. He argued with director Alan Schneider, and clashed with Geraldine Page. But he still won a Theatre World Award, marking the moment the industry finally saw him as more than just another actor fighting for space. After that came a defining moment. He turned 25 and fired his agent because the man failed to secure proper roles for him. It was risky. Most actors his age would cling to any representation they could get. Woods went the opposite way. He pushed forward alone. He contacted casting directors himself. He refused to rely on someone who did not believe in him. The gamble paid off. Slowly, he began landing more film opportunities. His path toward movies like The Onion Field and Salvador began right there, with one bold move and a belief that he could steer his own career. James Woods stepped into film in 1972 with The Visitors, and right from the first scene, you could feel something sharp in him. He was new, but he carried a weight that did not look new at all. Elia Kazan directed the film, and it was one of the early serious Vietnam War stories, the kind that showed guilt and fear instead of hero speeches. It premiered at Cannes in 1972, and in the middle of that quiet tension, Woods stood there as Bill Schmidt, a veteran trying to outrun memories, a man whose past comes back when two ex-army buddies appear at his farmhouse after leaving military prison. The whole story came from a real court-martial case that The New Yorker covered in 1969, the same case that later shaped Casualties of War. Woods played Bill with a raw, uneasy edge, and even though it was his debut, it felt like he had lived inside the character for years. Critics noticed. The darkness of the film left a mark, yet the film did not hit big. Because of that, Woods got pushed into gritty minor roles for a long time. Still, his fierce presence as Bill Schmidt showed what was coming. Then came a tiny moment in 1973 that proved how fast he could take over a scene. The Way We Were was a romantic drama with Barbra Streisand and Robert Redford, and still Woods managed to grab attention in just a few minutes. He played Frankie McVeigh, a poker-playing activist who appears during a political gathering. He barely had lines, but the way he held himself pulled focus. It was only his fourth film, yet directors began to whisper about him. He had that kind of energy that never blended into the background. Against two massive stars, he still shined. That small part helped him climb out of the stage world and into more serious screen roles. By 1975, his luck turned a little brighter with Night Moves. Arthur Penn directed it, and Gene Hackman led the story as a private investigator searching for a missing teenager. Woods played Quentin, a mechanic with trouble written all over him. He was young, loud, and always ready to swing fists when talking failed. His scenes held a wild, unpredictable spark. Penn liked that about him, and even praised the raw edge he brought. The house used for Quentin's scenes belonged to Phil Kaufman, who had been Graham Parsons' road manager, which added a real lived-in feel to the film. Night Moves gave Woods the chance to show range instead of being boxed into the same types of roles. Audiences and critics finally saw he was more than just another gritty face. His real breakthrough arrived in 1979 with The Onion Field. He played Gregory Powell, the man behind the 1963 murder of LAPD officer Ian Campbell. It was based on Joseph Wambaugh's book from 1973, which used actual court transcripts and letters from Powell himself. To prepare, Woods locked himself in a hotel room and read Powell's writings again and again until the character got under his skin. Too far under. After filming, he had to go to therapy because the role shook him that deeply. The film hit viewers the same way. It earned him a Golden Globe nomination and strong praise from critics, including placing third in the New York Film Critics Circle for supporting actor. The film was so powerful that when Powell was almost paroled in 1982, A TV broadcast of the movie stirred public outrage and blocked his release. Powell stayed in prison until his death in 2008 at age 79. Only a few years later, in 1983, Woods stepped into something stranger and more daring. Videodrome. David Cronenberg directed it, and the film was built on body horror, hallucinations, and the fear of media eating into real life. Woods played Max Wren, a TV executive sliding into madness after discovering a channel filled with torture and mind control. The stomach slit he wore was a heavy prosthetic piece he kept as a souvenir. Scenes were rough to shoot. They were long. They were uncomfortable. At one point he joked that he was no longer an actor, but only the carrier of the slit. Cronenberg even doubled for him in the electrocution scene because Woods was scared of the shock rigs. Still, he pushed himself. Videodrome later became a cult classic, and Woods' fearless performance became one of the reasons people still talk about it. In 1984, he took on Max in Sergio Leone's long epic Once Upon a Time in America. The production was heavy, long shoots, 16-hour days, months in Italy. Woods used a method-style approach to sink into Max's paranoid, manipulative mind. It caused real tension between him and Robert De Niro. The friction showed on camera, making their scenes powerful and unsettling. The movie premiered at Cannes in 1984 and got a 15-minute standing ovation. But the U.S. release was cut down from 3 hours 49 minutes to 2 hours 19 minutes. The cut version flopped, earning less than $6 million worldwide, even though the budget was around $30 million. Still, critics pointed at Woods and said his performance was one of the strongest in the film. 2 years later, he worked with Oliver Stone again in Salvador. Woods played journalist Richard Boyle, who had lived through the Salvadoran Civil War. They wanted to film in El Salvador, but the danger was too intense, so they shot in Mexico after scouting the war zones. The movie followed real events, including the 1985 assassination of Lieutenant Colonel Ricardo Cienfuegos, which Stone called the start of an even worse period in the conflict. Woods put everything into the role. He studied war reporters, asked questions, watched how trauma changed a person's eyes. The work paid off. Salvador earned him his first Academy Award nomination and a Golden Globe win. People said the film felt honest, unfiltered, and frighteningly close to the truth. Then came Promise in 1987, a TV movie that earned Woods an Emmy. He played a man suffering from severe mental disabilities, and he did not take the responsibility lightly. He went to a Santa Monica halfway house, talked with people living with schizophrenia, studied their tone, their pacing, their fears. The research left him shaken. He said later that the experience scarred him and became both the most perfect and the most emotionally draining work of his life. The film was praised for accuracy and care, and his performance became a standard many later actors studied. In 1995, he slipped into the role of H.R. Haldeman in Oliver Stone's film Nixon. Woods convinced Stone to choose him over Ed Harris. He spent hours listening to White House tapes to capture the measured, icy way Haldeman spoke. Some monologues in the film matched real recordings almost word for word. Nixon premiered at Cannes in May 1995 and got mixed reviews, but Woods' performance stood out. It earned him Screen Actors Guild and Emmy nominations, and showed how closely he worked with Stone to match the real Haldeman, right down to wardrobe and gestures. Soon after, in 1996, Woods took on one of the hardest roles of his career. He played Byron Dilla Beckwith in Ghosts of Mississippi. Beckwith was the white supremacist convicted of killing civil rights leader Medgar Evers in 1963. Woods performed the role with such chilling commitment that the production required on-set security. Some viewers even reacted in anger, confusing the actor with the character. The film released on December 20th, 1996, and though it earned only $13 million against a $36 million budget, Woods' courtroom scenes were unforgettable. He earned another Academy Award nomination and built one of the most disturbing villain portrayals of the decade. In 1998, Woods produced and starred in Another Day in Paradise. He played a drug-addicted thief based on real criminals, and the film carried a rough indie feel. It cost $4.5 million and made only about $1.03 million, which hurt his reputation as a producer. The movie went to Venice and Toronto, but tension grew behind the scenes. Director Larry Clark accused Woods of interfering with editing, and Woods denied it, saying he kept his promise to stay out of the final cut. Still, the film got strong reviews for its harsh realism, even though it failed at the box office. In Martin Scorsese's Casino from 1995, Woods showed a different flavor of darkness. He played Lester Diamond, a slick mob-connected figure who lived off manipulation and fear. The story followed real events from Las Vegas, including the massive skimming operations that drained millions from casinos. Woods improvised many scenes, especially the violent ones, and some of the rough moments left Sharon Stone bruised. Casino made more than $116 million worldwide and became one of Scorsese's most respected crime films. Woods' part added grit to a story already heavy with danger. By 1999, he stepped into indictment. The McMartin Trial, an HBO film about the most expensive trial in American history. 7 years, $15 million, endless accusations. Woods played defense attorney Danny Davis. His push for accuracy led to arguments with director Mick Jackson, especially on how courtroom scenes should unfold. The film argued that the trial had turned into a witch hunt fueled by mass panic. Woods treated the role like a responsibility and even pushed for script changes. His performance earned him a Primetime Emmy nomination and reminded people that he always chased realism, even when it rattled the set. James Woods spent the 1990s and early 2000s moving through television like he owned the place. One year he was leading a sharp HBO drama. The next he was turning a cable film into something people talked about for weeks. He bounced between dark characters and softer, emotional ones, and audiences followed him every time. His performances kept getting Emmy nominations. His shows kept getting high ratings. His habit of changing lines on the spot sometimes caused tension with executives, but viewers loved the way he brought scenes to life. Bit by bit, he shaped the kind of television that pushed boundaries and sparked debates, and his name stayed familiar for more than 40 years. People knew he could be brilliant, unpredictable, loud, honest, or all of it at the same time. That same energy carried into animation when he stepped into the recording booth for Disney's Hercules in 1997. Once he started voicing Hades, he turned the character into something wild and fast. He improvised so many lines that directors could not predict what he would say next. Even the moment where he shouted, "I am the Lord of the Dead," was something he made up on the spot. At first it shocked everyone, then it made them laugh, and later it became one of the reasons the movie worked. Hercules passed $250 million worldwide, and a lot of people credited Woods for that spark. Behind the scenes, he argued for creative freedom like he always did, but that push and pull gave Hades a style that changed how animated villains were written. Then came Dirty Pictures on HBO in 2000, a film that stepped straight into the middle of America's free speech arguments. Woods played Dennis Barry, the museum director charged for showing Robert Mapplethorpe's photos. He put real fire into the courtroom scenes. Extras even stripped down during a protest scene, which made headlines everywhere. Woods had already spoken openly about censorship in real life, so the role fit him in a personal way. Millions watched the film, and it sparked debates about art, rights, and limits. His performance earned an Emmy nomination and reminded people how powerful television could be when it leaned into uncomfortable truths. In Shark, which ran from 2006 to 2008, he became Sebastian Stark, a sharp defense attorney who pushed every boundary. The show pulled around 10 million viewers each week, making it one of Fox's biggest hits at the time. Woods kept adding his own twist to the dialogue. In one scene, he compared politicians to used car salesmen, and executives almost cut the line, but fans loved it so much they kept it. His speed, his wit, his courtroom confidence made the show addictive. Shark worked because Woods pushed everything forward with charisma that made it hard to look away. 2011, HBO tapped him for Too Big to Fail, where he played Richard Fuld during the collapse of Lehman Brothers. Woods studied interviews and insider accounts, shaping each scene around real moments like the tense meeting on September 14, 2008. Lines such as "I am not selling at a loss" came directly from what leaders actually said. His performance captured the coldness and fear of the crisis, and it earned him a Satellite Award nomination. The film became a guide for people trying to understand what really happened during the meltdown and why it mattered so much. Just a few years earlier, he had shown a different side of himself in The Virgin Suicides in 1999. Here he played Mr. Lisbon, a grieving and confused father. It surprised fans because it was soft, quiet, and full of emotion. Woods prepared for weeks, drawing from moments of loss in his own life. The film made more than $30 million and became a cult classic. His performance stood out because it showed he could let go of the sharp edges and step into something fragile. His personal life moved through storms of its own. He married Catherine Morrison on August 31, 1980, after only 5 months together. They divorced on September 20, 1983. Rumors of trouble followed him into 1984 during the filming of Against All Odds, fueling headlines that made their split even louder. Then came his marriage to Sarah Owen on June 2, 1989. It lasted barely 10 months. They separated in November 1989 and finalized the divorce in April 1990. People pointed to his non-stop work and long shooting hours as the reason everything fell apart. His engagement to Missy Kreider lasted from 1997 to 2000. They had been dating since 1993, and the age difference brought a lot of attention. Woods was in his 50s, and Kreider was in her 20s. He defended the relationship, but her desire for stability clashed with the pressure of his schedule. When they ended things in 2000, it happened quietly, but still made its way through the tabloids. Then in 2013, he returned to headlines when he dated Kristen Bogus, who was 19 at the time. The age gap was 46 years. It caused another wave of talk. Woods posted about the relationship online and defended it while critics pushed back. He insisted it was real. The debate only grew louder and became one more chapter in his long line of public controversies. Everything changed when he married Sarah Miller in 2021 at age 74. This time he stayed private. No public drama, no messy coverage. Friends said she supported him through health scares and emotional challenges. Woods never had biological children, and he kept his life with her and her adult children mostly away from cameras. For him, it became a quiet, steady chapter after decades of turbulence. Of course, he still found his way into controversy. In June 2016, he tweeted that all ISIS fighters were using iPhones made in the United States. The claim exploded online. Apple threatened legal action. Experts debunked the statement as false. He was suspended from Twitter for spreading it. It showed how a single tweet could travel far and cause real trouble. Then in 2018, another storm came. Back in July 2015, he had sued an anonymous Twitter user named Abe List for $10 million over a false claim that accused him of being a cocaine addict. Courts refused to reveal the user's identity. When Woods discovered the man had died, he tweeted "good riddance" and even said he hoped the man died screaming his name. That shocked people everywhere. It became one of the most discussed moments of his social media life and showed how far his anger sometimes went. He stayed vocal during the 2020 election. He repeated claims of voter fraud, and his posts were flagged and fact-checked. His account was suspended again. In 2022, he sued Twitter, saying they censored him and targeted conservatives. The lawsuit added him to a growing list of public figures fighting platform policies and sparked new conversations about free speech online. In September 2025, he appeared on television again, this time during California's wildfire season. He blamed the state's leadership and said budget cuts nearly destroyed his home. Scientists and environmental experts pushed back, pointing toward climate change and long-term environmental issues. Woods used the moment to make a political point, and the debate grew even bigger as the fires worsened. His public feud with Amber Tamblyn in 2017 also resurfaced often. She posted a statement related to the Me Too movement. Woods responded by saying she lied. She called him unhinged. Their exchange spread everywhere and turned into a bigger argument about harassment, belief, and how Hollywood handles these stories. As his acting career slowed, Woods moved deeper into voice work. He appeared in Family Guy and in video games like Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. He sometimes said Hollywood blacklisted him for being conservative. In a 2018 interview, he even said he turned down a Family Guy episode because he felt comedy had been ruined by hostility toward his values. Aside from a short cameo in Oppenheimer in 2016, he said he no longer received major film offers. His voice roles kept him active, but his polarizing presence online made everything more complicated. By 2025, he was 78 and dealing with hypertension. He talked about long workdays, stress, and poor sleep during earlier years on shows like Shark. All of it added up. Doctors kept him on medication. Even so, he stayed active and talked to millions on social media. His health struggles became a reminder of what decades in the spotlight can do to a person. Money came and went in his life. In 2025, people estimated his net worth to be somewhere between $8 million and $20 million. He had earned a lot through real estate. He made a $5 million profit on a Beverly Hills property. In 2017, he bought a Pacific Palisades estate for around $4.3 million. Then, the Palisades Fire in early 2025 destroyed it. Insurance did not cover everything. It hit him hard both emotionally and financially. Even someone with money can lose things in an instant. Yet his legacy is not simple. In 2024, he said in an interview with Megyn Kelly that he still had friendships with liberal stars like Whoopi Goldberg. That surprised people who believed he had been completely cut off from Hollywood. It showed that even with loud political opinions and years of controversy, some relationships survived. His story became a mix of talent, conflict, humor, confrontation, tenderness, and contradiction. And it showed that cancel culture, blacklisting, and public fights never tell the full story of a person's life.